Hey everyone, Sarah here. Welcome back to the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. Today we are diving into a topic that comes up a lot. It's nightly rentals outside of the city of Bend. We all love those short-term rentals, those nightly rental investment properties, but rules differ between within the city limits and outside. And we're here to talk to you about what you need to know in order to make that happen for yourself seamlessly. Running a nightly rental outside of the city limits of Bend is not the same as managing one inside the city. So whether you're thinking about buying, managing, or just curious about how these things work, here is what you need to know. Let's start with the not so fun, but of course, super important part that everybody dreads, right? Rules and regulations. That's what's led us here. And these are the things that we need to follow in order to do it legally. Inside the Bend city limits, there are really specific STR rules. There are number of permits capped based on distance from the nearest one, right? And there are renewal requirements. Once you step outside of the city limits, though, things definitely change. So each neighboring area like Sunriver or Tumalo, Deschutes River Woods, counties, different even counties have their own set of rules. Some are much looser and some are surprisingly really strict. You might need a zoning permit, a business license, and sometimes even a health and safety inspection before you can get your property legally rented as a short-term rental. So before you buy or list a property, double check with the county planning department of where your specific property or subject property is, because you want to make sure that you are compliant. This is typically a complaint-driven system, and you want to make sure that your neighbors don't have anything to complain about, because skipping that step can get expensive and turn into a headache pretty fast. When it comes to property management and maintenance, if you're not living nearby, of course, you'll probably want to have a few boots on the ground, whether that is a local property manager or a couple really good house cleaners and some handy people. Vendors in general that are reliable are a must if you can't just run over there yourself. Things happen, as we know. If it's an older home, something like pipes might freeze, right? Or power, flickers. Wildlife gets a little bit too curious and you find birds nesting in your eaves. You'll want somebody who's close by to handle those calls. And in general, rural homes tend to need more maintenance, right? Like there's not as many road crews to clear things like snow. And it tends to be a little bit harder to have vendors in rural areas, and also sometimes more expensive. Also, when you're not attached to public utilities like sewer and water, you're dealing with things like well and septic systems, and sometimes in some cases gravel roads. And out here there's wildlife and things that can cause issues. So staying on top of your maintenance for your short-term rental outside of the city of Bend limits not only helps keep your guests happy, but it also protects your investment long term. So as far as marketing and booking strategy goes, these rentals that are outside of the city of Bend tend to attract a slightly different clientele, because it's not people who are looking for things that are in walking distance and the hustle and bustle. These people tend to be people looking for more solitude, peace and quiet. Everyone who comes to Bend tends to be an outdoor enthusiast, but these are people that want to be able to, walk outside the front door and have national forest, adjacent, right? And that there's plenty of properties like that outside of the city of Bend. Families looking for quiet spaces, or like big groups and events wanting privacy and views rather than walkability, or, access to a river, which again is much more accessible when you are outside of the Bend city limits. With these types of properties, your marketing needs to highlight the year-round appeal and exactly what these particular guests are looking for. And we've already covered it, but just to reiterate, these things are peace and quiet, a big outdoor space, and the proximity to hiking, fishing, or, snow sports. Of course, no different than being in the city of Bend limits. You're listing this on Airbnb or VRBO. You need to be specific about what makes your particular spot special. Maybe you have developed a really beautiful outdoor patio area with a fire pit and a hot tub under the stars, and the river trail, is a few steps away for everyone to spread out and take peaceful walks. These are the things that you're going to want to note in your marketing for something, that offers less convenience, right, and more peace and quiet. Pricing and seasonal variations in areas that are outside of this city of Bend limits do tend to be a little bit different. Pricing strategy works a little different because people who are staying in these outlying areas do tend to have more seasonal demand and amenities than just location, right? So if you think Sunriver, that is a place that has really high seasonal demand in, over the holidays, over winter time, because they do a really beautiful job decking the halls with lights, and they do sleigh rides, and it's just a winter wonderland, right? So that is what people in Sunriver are advertising. And, versus within the city of Bend, seasonality is still there, but you are probably bringing people to your place and talking to them about proximity to the river trail or the pavilion with ice skating, or how to get up to Mount Bachelor the quickest, when they come to spend their cozy weekend getaways, right? In the summer, it's all about floating season, hiking, family reunions, things like that. So just adjusting your rates around those patterns and holidays and local events will obviously help you stay competitive, optimize your rental and stay booked. But you need to have an awareness of all these things and be, active with updating your listing. Of course, when it comes to numbers and pricing strategy, there are plenty of good softwares out there that can help you with that as well. Now, of course, everybody wants to get guest reviews and repeat guests. It's huge. Like, this is a big part of, the algorithm and getting more people to book your place. So rentals outside of the city of Bend usually offer something that city rentals can't, right? And again, we've already touched on it, but really we need to highlight space and serenity. Anything outside of Bend city limits is probably going to have a decent sized lot, whether that's from a half acre to 10 acres is probably most typical. And you need to lean into that. You need to highlight that fire pit and the mountain views, the marina access, the hammock that you have out, your hot tub, or that amazing stargazing spot that you've cleared out and put a telescope at. Guests are coming for an experience, a cozy cabin vibe experience, and not just a bed, right? So make it memorable. Make it something different than they are able to experience where they're coming from, and make it easy, right? The better you set it up and the more amenities you provide, the smoother it'll run and the more you can charge. Actually, people are going to compare side by side, and it's, what would somebody spend an extra $50 to $100 a night for? Be asking yourself that question and be implementing it in your rental. When it comes to the local community and obviously having an environmental impact, you're part of that community, right? Like, when you own a rental in a smaller rural community, you're part of that community. And it's just really important to be a good neighbor. Within the city limits of Bend, it is a pretty transient place, seasonal in terms of just like, there's some snowbirders here. But when you tend to get in the more rural areas, it's a lot of primary homeowners and people that live in their homes full time. So you want to be a good neighbor. You want to do things like respect quiet hours and keep your driveway and trash areas tidy and communicate with your neighbors and have extra eyes on the ground, right? And make friends so you have more help if issues come up. Now, of course, if you're talking about some of the communities like Black Butte or Tollgate or Sunriver proper, of course, a lot of these by nature are vacation rentals. They are resort communities, and there are fewer primary home residents, home owners and people that live there full time. But those people who live there, I think, know where they're living and what they're into. So not to say that it's an opportunity to be less courteous to your neighbors, but again, just having that awareness of your particular neighborhood and yeah, just how to navigate that. Now, let's also talk about our environmental impact here. These homes are often in beautiful and natural settings, so things like water conservation, efficient heating, and waste management, of course, matter. And it's like another way to stand out by advertising and implementing simple little eco-friendly touches, and guests appreciate them too, right? So I don't know, think compostable dog waste bags, or I don't know, yeah, I mean just energy efficient heating and cooling. People notice this stuff, and it has more of an effect, on the environment. It has more than just an effect on the environment, right? It has an effect on your energy bill and, whatever, the greater reverberations as a result as well. Okay, legal and insurance musts. It's not the least, but it's the last in this video. Of course, we need to protect ourselves, and you need to make sure that your insurance policy actually covers short-term rentals. When you get an insurance policy on your short-term rental property, you're going to want to make sure that they understand that that's what it is functioning as, because a standard homeowner's policy usually doesn't cover what you need when you are renting it as a nightly rental. So you are going to perhaps search for coverage that protects you against things like guest damage and liability and even lost income in the event of like natural disasters, things like that, right? So rental insurance. If you're buying a property and converting it, it's also worth running your plan by an attorney who knows the local rental laws, because, those are the people that would be defending you if something did go wrong. So sometimes that small upfront investment can really save you a major headache and just give you peace of mind as you're going through the process. Now, we've been through a lot. We haven't gone into the specifics about particular counties and particular neighborhoods and what they do and do not allow, but that's when to pick up the phone or send us a text or send us an email and call us and ask us particular questions about where you have subject properties in mind. We love digging up and finding those diamonds in the rough and those eligible properties within the city limits of Bend, but it certainly can be a lot more work and risk and, in lots of cases, greater return as a result. But those opportunities outside of the city limits of Bend are also amazing opportunities as investments, because they offer multiple exit strategies, flexibility, less liability, income potential, and then of course a chance to share the Central Oregon, beauty with others and yourself, right? A lot of people come to us and want a place that they can use themselves in addition to it being an investment and, a tool for their own financial and real estate goals. Success, as we know, only really comes when you understand the full picture, like the rules that we've been through here today, how to take care of your property, and creating a great guest experience, that optimizes your location and the seasons. Of course, if you're thinking about buying or managing a nightly rental anywhere in Central Oregon, whether it's Sunriver, Lapine, Tumalo, out towards Sisters, Redmond, in the Eagle Crest neighborhood, something like that, we would love to chat with you and get into the details with you on what to consider, how to navigate the regulations, maybe get you a really great video tour, and help you negotiate a really good deal. You can find our contact info everywhere if you just search Sarah and Suzanne, Central Oregon, or the Central Oregon Investor Network. We would love to have a 15-minute meeting with you online or in person, and look forward to helping you when the time is right. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.